guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm going to talk about Slender Man. So, we're starting up on the fall season. We're going to have all these horror movies coming out, some big franchises coming back like Halloween, and something I'm pretty excited for like The Nun and the Conjuring series. So, they got it kicked off with Slender Man. So if you know anything about Slender Man, which I don't know a ton about, but it's this internet creepypasta meme thing about this tall guy in a suit who kind of lures in children. He's just supposed to be this creepy entity. There was a video game created about it that's just kind of like a jump scary thing. But the thing that made me kind of slightly interested in this movie is there's an HBO documentary that's actually really good called Beware the Slender Man that chronicles these two girls that kind of go a little crazy and really full in on this Slender Man phenomenon and end up attacking another girl. And that's a really interesting documentary. I mean, it's horrible, but it's just captivating. See how someone can be fascinated with this fictional character, and it creates this kind of creepy thing with Slender Man. However, this movie doesn't do anything to capture the creepiness of the reality of this internet phenomenon. It kind of creates just like this boogeyman effect. Like he's just this scary entity that stalks people and drives them crazy. In the movie, the main girls in the film decide that they want to summon Slender Man. It's the typical story of the teenagers that do the scary thing because they want to just be, edgy and, because, people are doing it, let's do it. So they summon Slender Man, and as you imagine, things turn out poorly, and he starts stealing them away, and they're trying to stop him. And that's really the plot. That's the extent of this film. I thought that it could have went into the psychological aspects of this internet phenomenon, but it doesn't. He's just a summoned creature that's trying to kill them and take them away and drive them crazy. So it's that basic plot that we've seen a million times in all these really cheesy teen horror movies, and it feels so bland and so boring and so played out that it just honestly isn't scary at all. So the big name in this movie is Joey King, and she really broke onto the scene in the first Conjuring movie. I think she's really good at such a young age playing in these horror roles, but yeah, this definitely isn't a great movie for her. She definitely gives a better performance than the rest of the cast in this movie. Most of them are really flat. I mean, there are a lot of very young actresses, and this is very early in their work, so I can't really hold it against them. The movie's script isn't anything at all. The dialogue isn't great. But, I don't expect that from a movie like this. But the one thing it could do is be scary, do something interesting. We've had so many interesting horror movies and surprising horror movies in recent years, between the Conjuring series, Annabelle, I even like Ouija Origins, and then some real psychological horror movies like The Babadook. This just throws that out and kind of does that very bland, boring, just paint by numbers horror movie, and it didn't work on any level. It relies almost exclusively on jump scares, and it uses the same jump scares over and over and over again. It doesn't do them in a creative way. It's kind of that slow build music, and then somebody walks into the room, and half the time it isn't anything, it's just someone walking into the room. It's just that jumping of the sound and someone walking in that's supposed to scare you, and I just think that's dumb. I just think that is the most played out way that you can make a horror movie. And if you're going to do those jump scares, there's such better ways to do. I mean, take, for example, A Quiet Place. That movie kind of relies a lot on jump scares. I mean, it's a very different kind of movie, but they did it in such an interesting way with the design of the world and the concept. But this is just lazy. And the only other thing that it kind of relies on to be scary is creepy images, especially the third act of the film is kind of just flashing, creepy, scary, kind of disturbing things at the viewer. And at that point, I had checked out. I mean, this movie is an hour and a half long, and it felt more like 2.5 hours long. After the first 45 minutes, I was done with it. I just wanted to be over, and it's just laughable at points. I just want to talk about one scene in particular. If you do see this movie, and if you have seen this movie, there is a moment in the movie where the one main protagonist is meeting up with this guy she likes, and they're, making out on the couch, and then she envisions him as, kind of distorted looking and like crazy, and the screen shaking and the music's getting all crazy, and it looks so dumb. It looks hilarious. Like, I don't laugh in movies when I'm not supposed to. I laughed out loud in that moment because this looked so funny. It didn't look scary. It looked goofy. It reminded me of in that Truth and Dare movie when their faces change and it's just goofy looking, but that's a little more creepy, disturbing. This was just crazy looking. It looked like something someone would do in Microsoft Paint or PowerPoint when you like distort the image and shake it and stuff. There's actually a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of that's supposed to be psychological and from their perspective and they're losing their minds. It looks really bad. It looks like they're just stretching the image or shaking the image. There's nothing creative with it, and you can tell this movie was very poorly edited, very lazily shot, put together, directed. It's a cash grab. It's a movie that is, you know, taking the Slender Man name and like that whole concept that people are creeped out by, and it's been around forever, and they're finally making a movie, and they're just running with it to make some money. Like, this movie probably should have been made 5 years ago. It should have been like made during the peak of, you know, Slender Man and this creepiness, and it just feels old. It feels like this is a meme. Like they made a meme into a movie is what it feels like. And I can't take it seriously, and I think most people wouldn't take it seriously. The Slender Man himself is a lot of CGI, and it looks really bad for a lot of the scenes in the movies. I will say there were 2 scenes in particular, one that takes place in a library that I kind of like that scene. It was, you could tell that it was a person in prosthetics, and it was closer and more intimate and felt more like a creature or a character. A lot of this movies, it's just an image. It's just a thing that you see in the background. It doesn't feel like it's part of the movie. It just feels like it's a plot device. And this movie is very meandering. It doesn't really get going. It doesn't really have a whole lot of scary action until like the last 30 minutes. It's pretty, for a movie that's this short, it's pretty slow and it's pretty dull. So at the end of the day, if I were to rate this movie, I would probably give it a 1.5 out of 10. It's really just that bad. It's nothing about it is super redeemable. I don't think that most people would find it scary. Maybe if you're like a young kid who believes in Slender Man or something like that, you'd find this movie scary. But if you're an adult or even late teens, you're just going to find it laughable. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you see Slender Man, let me know what you think about it. Do you think it's as bad as I think it is? And what are you excited for this Halloween season? Are you excited for Halloween like me? The Nun looks pretty good. Leave it down in the comments below, and see you guys next time.